Good morning. While I'm sharing my screen, I'll introduce myself. My name's Carmen Hudson, and I have been recruiting for, I calculated this morning, I think it's 27 years, which is, quite frankly, it's a surprise to me. I really didn't know that this is where I would end up in my career. And I didn't realize, okay, can you see my screen? It's up, or somebody let me know if we can see my screen. And I'll turn a PowerPoint file into a presentation and we'll be good to go. So I
Yes,
didn't
we can
know
see
that
your
I was
screen.
going to
Yep.
end up awesome. All right. So we've got a lot of stuff going on, but let me just uh turn this into a slideshow. I don't want to do all that LinkedIn. No, I just want to share. All right. Anyway, so I started this career um, not knowing that this is exactly what I want to do. I started out working in recruiting because of the internet. This was many years ago, and presenter. There we go. I started out in recruiting simply because I wanted to use the internet, and I got a job as a researcher at an executive search firm, and I was on my way. That's how I started out in this. Um, and it was a little bit of a fate. So I want to tell a quick story about how I even got into this at all. And slide two, slide three. Okay. I had to put together a presentation very quickly because I wasn't sure if I was going to appear on screen. So what happened was I actually started um, out in Chicago. And in Chicago, I was there after being in school. I had taken an internship. I'd moved to the city, partied all my money away, and I needed a job. I needed a job quickly. And back in those days, what we did when we needed money is that we took a temp job. So I went to the temp agency. They tested me. At the time, I could actually type, and I got the job, and they were sending me to an architectural firm. Well, this really excited me. I was extremely excited to go to work for this company, and I started thinking and imagining and sharing all these things about the fact that uh, wow, this may be a career for me. Maybe I want to become an architect. Maybe this is something that will last a lifetime for me. Who knows? I was extremely excited. I got there, and I was told to wait in the lobby. So I waited in the lobby. I waited 5 minutes, 10 minutes. No one came back. After 10 minutes or 15 minutes or so, I sort of peeked my head back and I said, "Hey, have you guys forgotten about me? I'm here. I'm ready to start working." And they said, "No, no, no. We know. Just continue to sit there." And so I did. And then 20 minutes passed, 25 minutes passed, a half hour passed. And I peeked my head in again and I said, "Hey, have you guys forgotten about me?" And they said, "No, no. And just someone will be with you shortly." And after a few more minutes, someone came out and said, "Thank you. We won't need your services after all." And I was crushed. Quite frankly, I I assumed, and I think even as I think about it today, after 25 or more years, it was probably due to my race. So I went back to the temp agency and I said, "Hey, they decided they didn't need me." At which point, they decided to pay me for the time that I was committed to work, which I think was about 2 weeks, and but they wouldn't look me in the eye. And so I said to myself at the time, if I'm ever in a position in my career where people are coming in to talk to me, to interview, to be part of some job process, I never want to leave anyone sitting in a lobby wondering about whether or not they were discriminated against. And so that sat in the back of my mind for many, many years. I had no idea that I would end up in recruiting at that point. But that's where I ended up, and that's where my career has taken me. And so that's been an important driving story for me, to always be involved with making this this process fair and transparent for anyone involved. So I don't know what's going on with these slides. So I'm gonna go to the slides and just talk to you. So I've written a book. After all those years, after 26, 27 years, I decided that I was going to write down all the things that I thought were important for me, and important to me, important to helping me get out of the slideshow. I'm horrible with this, and I know that I am horrible with this, and I am, okay. Are you guys seeing my slides? Can anyone just, I can't see anything. I'm gonna end the show and just talk to you, because that's causing me too much trouble. There we go. So I decided that for me, I wanted to capture all the things that I'd learned, and I wanted to share all the stuff that I learned. I wanted to make sure that I wrote down all those things that I think that are important. And I think it's important that we all take a stab at doing this, or many of us take a stab at doing this. And the reason that I think this is because prior to doing my book, I looked for other books about recruiting, and I found some, and I found quite a few on sourcing. But overall recruiting as an entire process, I didn't see that. And then in terms of the sourcing books that existed, the same names kept appearing again and again. So I think that we need more voices, recruiters in this business, sharing information, sharing what they've learned, sharing what they know. And so I'm going to just kind of share a little bit about how I did it, and what I think you should be thinking about as you're doing it. And the first thing I think that we should be thinking about is finding the joy in what we do. I think Vanessa mentioned this a little bit. And I think recruiting is fun. I think it's probably one of the best professions ever. We are going through a difficult time, as our previous speaker mentioned. But if you don't feel that recruiting is wonderful, that it is an opportunity to do this job, then you probably shouldn't be recruiting. And this is probably a good time to start looking around for other things to do. The other thing is, you're thinking about your career, is have a North Star. What do you want to do? Do you want to specialize? Do you want to become a tech recruiter? Do you want to be a generalist? Do you want to work for a particular type of company? Do you want to lead recruiting? I had no idea that I wanted to be a recruiting leader when I was asked to first lead. But I stepped into it and learned that I love it. And so it allowed me to really drive, I think, a great career in recruiting, and to leverage the skills that I had that I could bring to the table. When you are thinking about writing anything, whether it's a blog, whether it is a book, whether it's it's a script for a video presentation, outline what you want to write about, and then write it, and then rewrite it. And if it's a book, you got to rewrite it again, and then get your friends involved and start publishing. Writing is not a money-making adventure. It is a place that I started because I wanted to learn. I went to school for journalism, so I love to write. But it was, for me, first, I wanted to learn how to blog. I wanted to learn the mechanics and the technology of blogging. And so I started writing. And then I learned that, of course, that I loved writing even more. So I wrote for various online publications. I wrote on LinkedIn. And then most recently, I wrote a book. I think it's really important, if you're not a great writer, to learn to write in this business. And if you're not enamored with that, then share your videos. I think there's so many voices that are out there that are from our vendors, and that's great, but I want to hear more from recruiters. And I think earlier on, we heard more from recruiters than we actually are hearing today. And I'd like to hear from more of you who are actually doing the job. Money making is not something that is going to happen for you as a writer for the most part. So make sure that you are doing this because you love doing it, because you want to help others. For me, it was initially because I wanted to test the limits of the technology, and I wanted to share what I knew with others, and really become proficient at doing that. A lot of writers use writing software, and you can think about that this becomes another project, but this is one of the most inexpensive projects, hobbies, sidelines that you can actually have. I write fiction as well, and so I have this, it's pretty inexpensive software that I use, but for whatever reason, I didn't use that software to write this book. It was me and my laptop, and I set a time commitment, and I just sat down every day until I got it done. I had some ideas that I'd stored away over the years. I started pulling it together, spent a few days really working on an outline in terms of what I wanted to share. And then I created a schedule, and I gave myself 6 months to get this written. You won't stick to your schedule all the time. Life gets in the way. But if you have a schedule and you know that you're slipping, you're going to be much more motivated to get back into it and get it done. So I gave myself 6 months to do it. It actually took about a year. I thought it would take a little bit shorter time, but it took time to edit the book. It took time to get some friends to read the book and give me feedback. And some other things got in the way. And then suddenly I found myself with a book, and I published it on Amazon. I'll share the link with you. So the other piece of it is share your second draft, not your first draft. You read your first draft, and then you go back through and you create a second draft with anyone who will read it and give you feedback. And that's for your blog post, that's for your book, that's for anything. I have two great former team members who read through every line and gave me great feedback. And I was very grateful for that. I asked some other folks to get involved and read certain parts of it. That was fantastic. And every suggestion that was read and shared with me, I incorporated into the book. So if someone asks you to do that, please say yes. And if you're writing something, make sure that you're getting other readers involved. The other piece of it is that I got my other friends involved. I first tried to get my former leaders and managers to write a foreword for me, but for corporate reasons, they couldn't necessarily do that. So I'm very grateful that I turned to my friends, and I'm very proud to call Jerry Crispin a friend, and he read and reviewed and wrote a foreword for the book. I was really scared to ask because I know that Jerry's busy. I know that it's a big ask, but he was so gracious, and I would encourage you to ask anyone to do that for you. And he also provided some thoughts about what I was sharing, and that was really useful to me. And then lastly, you will hate what you've written after you've written it. It will. It's published. It's available. But the last thing I want anyone to do is read it and find mistakes. Every time I look at it, I find something that I might have written differently or a bit of a mistake. And so it doesn't matter, even if it's a blog post, if it is a book, whatever it is, you'll hate it. If you're like me, you'll hate it after you've written it. Publish it anyway. The feedback that you get will be wonderful. The feedback that you get that is not as bright and shiny as you want it to be is going to be useful, and at least your mom is gonna love it. So that's sort of where what I wanted to share today. I would love to see more recruiters out there writing. And for those of you who are on a temporary break, this is a great time to get started writing that outline and getting started, or writing that blog post. Find something that you care about. I care about how we do recruiting. I care about corporate recruiting. So that's what I decided to write. My apologies for the at the beginning, but I would love to connect with you. I think I shared my LinkedIn, and I would love any comments that you have if you happen to read the book. So appreciate that, and I think I'm giving back a little bit of extra time, or maybe I'm not. No, but I really appreciate your listening.